Hallo, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Bakheragele, ni hao, tsunashume, washmale, ohio gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, swabiam, bhalli kare aaye. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very matching Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking in because you always ask me if I'm feeling cold or not.
Yeah.
So this time I made sure to wear like 2 extra things on the show.
Good. It's
now
good.
Do you feel like it's winter here?
Yes, I do. I do feel like that it's winter here, especially when I woke up early in the morning and I could actually feel cold under my quilt.
Oh.
I was like, you know what, I really need to turn up the heaters and the geysers as well, which to my surprise, the geysers, one way or the other, went off at night, and in the morning it was really painful for me to go under a cold shower. But alhamdulillah, I feel fresh. I feel as if I have caught up on my sleep as well. But today, Shiza, is a very important day, and it's a very special day. Why and what do we have to do on this day?
All right. So basically, to start with, I think there are two things that Shahzad and I require of you every other day, but especially today. That is sensitize and empathize. So basically, of course, sensitize your own mind and people around you, and then empathize. But why are we talking about this, Shahzad? Why these two things specifically?
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, to be very honest, I think that for everybody who's out there, they really need to listen to us very carefully today as well, because today it happens to be the International Day for people living with disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, whenever we talk about these people, they almost comprise of 10% or 15% of the total global population. Now, imagine a life where, the infrastructure is not accessible to you, the education is not inclusive, and the society does not really treat you the way they treat each other as well, which is why they have a very wonderful theme this year.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Do you want to share that, or do you want me to share that?
There are actually 2 themes that we're observing,
yes,
right? And 2 different sort of, comes under 2 different umbrellas.
Yeah.
So to begin with, one is...
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, one is building back better, making sure that the society is inclusive, and post-COVID 2019 world is actually a better and a smarter place for everyone, not for just us, but even for people living with disabilities.
Absolutely. And the other one actually looks at the kind of disabilities that are not physical or that are not visible to people around you. But of course, they are a sort of a disability, and we need to cater to that as well, being a responsible citizen too. One thing I absolutely love, Shahzad, coming all the way over to the office, I think for the past 1 or 2 days, there have been posters and hoardings of this special day on this very road as well, which is the Park Secretariat, but in different parts of Islamabad too. It is, I think, from Baitul Mal, it talks about persons living with disabilities and how we need to be an inclusive society. And of course, we need to play our individual part, and the government plays its part as well.
Exactly.
We are really trying to keep the intro really short, but Shahzad, like you said, globally, 1 billion persons are actually living with disabilities, all different sorts. But in Pakistan, well, figures actually vary from, imagine, 3 million to 27 million, because we're not sure. We don't actually have the exact data, and we need to talk about that as well.
Exactly. But then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly before we introduce our guest, I think that the PTI government has actually done wonders.
Yes.
This year around, not just this year around, even last year, ladies and gentlemen, by the good wishes of the Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, ladies and gentlemen, we were lucky enough to have actually constituted an entire committee. There was a bill which was passed by Mr. Asad Kaisar as well, and he made sure that it is going to go into both of the houses and it's going to get the approvals. They are working in the direction where parks and every other place will actually be made accessible for all of those people. Licenses will be provided to all of these people as well. So it is all about making their life easier, making it accessible for them as well, and making our society an inclusive one. But what goes into it, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a few experts. We will be discussing all the aspects and the perspectives of people living with disabilities as well, and that too with people living with disability, ladies and gentlemen. So very quickly, without any further ado, in the first place, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by a child psychologist. She happens to be Sobi Adnan Sahiba. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Bahut shukriya. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
And alongside Ms. Sobi Adnan, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we have been joined by somebody who came all the way from Lahore just for this very important day. She is a behavior analyst, and she is Ms. Shumaila Kamal. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Alongside Ms. Shumaila, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who's actually dedicated her entire life, probably, when actually she realized that now I know about things, that was the time when she started working for women who are living with disability as well. And not just that, she made sure that she's going to fight for their rights as well, that she's actually going to lobby with the parliamentarians, work with other organizations.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is amazing. She is the Director Project for Special Talent Exchange Program. She is Miss Abia Akram. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, kaisi hain aap?
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me again.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. And last but not the least, Khawateen Hazrat, for all of those people who are out there, she's one of those people whom we can label as emerging leader. She's an ambassador of Khobab Foundation as well. She's the one who's actually been raising her voice for the rights of people living with disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Zala Asad Kaisar Saiba as well. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, kaisi hain aap?
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you for having me over here.
Thank you very
It's a great pleasure for me to raise voice for a special person through this channel.
And it's an
grateful to you people.
And it's an honor for us that you guys all have actually taken out time on this important day and have joined us and have joined hands with us to raise awareness about it.
All right, so to begin with, I think, Abia, you have to take it away. Let's talk about the theme first of all, Building Back Better. What do you feel about it? And do you think it's, well, substantial?
Yeah, thank you so much, because this day we are celebrating not only in Pakistan but all over the world, and we are really, as you rightly mentioned, we are really honored and lucky. Like, we have whole day celebrations, and not only the celebrations, but actually we are talking about the experiences of persons with disabilities, the benchmarks, the like how much they have achieved in their lives at the grassroots level, at the national level, and the support from the government we are getting, because we have recently enacted the Pakistan Disability Act, which is a huge success in itself, because from last 2 decades persons with disabilities were fighting for it. And now it's in place. We have to work on the strategies, the implementation, and we can see what kind of changes we can bring collectively. Building back better, this year the theme is really important because it talks about the sustainable, inclusive world after the COVID-19.
Sustainable is very important.
Yes, because we are not talking about just making everything inclusive, but we are also thinking how we can take it on the long-term basis. So the people directly who are engaged, or all the stakeholders, they can work with us and see the changes at the community level, and we can raise more voices of persons with disabilities. So this is really important. And on the other hand, we are also talking about all the disabilities, because we haven't talked about the physical. We always talk about the physical, infrastructural barrier, communication barrier, but this is the time where we can talk about the intellectual disabilities or the hidden disabilities who are not visible, and people don't accept them or understand them. So how we can bring them on board?
That is brilliant. But now, Shumaila, you know, I was reading, and it actually made sense about celebrating this day, that working for persons living with disabilities is definitely a justice to human rights, but also an investment in a common future, which does make sense, because when we look at SDGs, we are not leaving anyone behind by 2030. So, being a behavioral analyst, you have to say this on behalf of Pakistani society. Do you think we're headed in the right direction for this?
Exactly, we are going towards that, but still lots needs to be done in this area, because you know, disability, as she said, and as you said, that disability is not only physical disability, but cognitive disabilities are also there, which are not visible, you know. So intellectual disability is there, autism is there, Down syndrome is there, and lots of other neurodevelopmental disorders are there. And those people are the people, like all our neurodiverse population, like they are socially impaired. They can, social impairment is there, cognitive impairment is there, communication impairment is there. They cannot, you know, participate in the community as other people are participating. They don't have access to education. They don't have access to employment, and they they are not included as such. Like, they have all the rights which other people have.
But implementation is the issue.
Exactly, wonderful. Now let me just move on to Miss Sobia over here as well. Now, Miss Sobia, when we talk about a society which is working on making sure that, you know, everything's going to be inclusive, may it be education, may it be friends, may it be family, and there's not going to be any kind of discrimination amongst people living with disability or people without, you know, we never know, because there are invisible disabilities as well, ladies and gentlemen, and 2/3 of that majority does not even recognize that. Now, when we talk about children growing up, what do you think will be the kind of challenges they will be facing? Do you think that they will be open in expressing? Do you think that they will be open in letting their parents know that, hey, you know what, I might be a person living with disability, but these are my rights and I need to go about them?
As your theme and goal, I will start from that first of all, the most important thing is the purification of our souls.
Yes.
The moment we start killing our negative thoughts, we are purifying our soul. So we need to educate the parents as in normal setups as well, not in the special schools. We are working a lot in special education nowadays. Everybody is putting efforts, but now it's the time when I am running a inclusive education school from last 5 years.
Yes.
So the kids growing up with special needs are more close to humanity. They are more helpful.
Yes.
They are more better person.
True.
So we have to give them a flavor. They are giving them the flavor of how to walk, and when we see the motivation level of a special child increases, and they also, if we are not hiding them, if we are not giving them exposure to understand a special child, how the person can understand?
Absolutely.
So that is very important, that I should also feel how the special person is feeling. I will not able to understand the problems the person is facing unless I go through or unless I am together with the person. So that is very important, that we should educate the parents and the society.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And I think you're doing a brilliant job as well, Ms. Sovia, because this is what we talked about, right, Shahzad? Empathize and sensitize, and you're doing that, which is amazing. Now, moving on to Zala. But before that, you know, Shahzad, I think we have spoken about it, how in this pandemic, each and every single person sort of had to go through a phase of isolation, of course, and then, well, feeling left out, of course, and feeling sort of neglected as well.
Exactly.
I think, and I think this came out of the mouth of a person living with a disability, and I would quote, that people might have actually gotten a taste of what persons with disability feel like, because they are, generally speaking, a lot of the time isolated or neglected or left out of the society as well.
Exactly.
So during the pandemic, I think we sort of did learn our lesson. I hope we did, and I hope that we make things better now.
Exactly.
So Zala, do you think this pandemic was even harder for persons living with disabilities?
Yes, of course, it was even much more harder for a person living with disabilities, because in normal routine they somehow managed to with the situation, but in the pandemic it was too much harder, because they were not because somehow they're feeling psychological issues. And the most important thing is that when the most important thing starts from the home. If the parents educate their children and tell them that how to talk, or as they said, how to talk and how to interact with the person living with disabilities, and to accept them as the normal human beings in society, and to give them the respect. So I think there will be much.
I think the life will be much easier.
Will be finished, and there will be a collaboration and
a collectivity in the society as well.
Yes, but and the feeling of loneliness and such things will be,
or the feeling of isolation will not be there.
It will be removed.
That's a very valid point. But you know, at this particular moment in 2020, since we're observing this day, Alhamdulillah, your father and all of the initiatives taken by him, even the Parliament House is now accessible. Even the Constitution is actually translated into Braille.
Is not. I have read the documents, and I do look over the documents of my Baba, although he's speaker, I'm not the speaker, but to understand that what are my rights and what are the other people's rights who are living with disabilities. So unfortunately, there is no constitution or constitution.
No rights within the Constitution.
No rights within the Constitution, and no specific article. There are much articles for women and for children rights, for women rights, for labor, for example, other rights are there, but there is no right for the people living with disabilities. No one has bothered to look over this issue, because it's the issue that it should be solved by now, because the technology is much
enhancing day by day.
Yes.
And I think people should come over and raise their voice for this situation.
Exactly. And thank you very much for raising your concerns about that as well. And this is something which Abia actually told us last year as well, that there is no right mentioned as of, you know, which actually concerns or talks about people living with disabilities as well. And we really need to talk about that. We'll come back to that point. But ladies and gentlemen, at this point of time, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody else as well. He's been a regular on the show. Unfortunately, we only had place for 4 people over here in the studios. So we asked him, in fact, and he was very kind to accept our offer as well, that he's going to join us over Skype as well. He happens to be a visually impaired psychologist, ladies and gentlemen. He is the one and only Mr. Zulkarnain Asghar. Hello, Zulkarnain bhai. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. Hello, Shahzad, Shiza, and how are you? I'm good. Thank you
very much for your time, and you look absolutely fantastic on television today.
Thank you. Thank you.
As always.
So what do you have to say about today? It's a very important day. We're talking about people living with disabilities. We're talking about building back better. We're talking about inclusive society. We're talking about accessible infrastructure. We're talking about rights which are there for everybody out there.
Yes.
Thank you, PT World, to giving me this opportunity. I'd like to say a few things. One, first, we need to understand first. About disability, we need to understand. I'll use one Urdu word, if you allow me.
Yes, please.
Mazuri ab nahi. We need to understand this. I'll make easier for our viewers, because we need to understand this notion first. Person living with disabilities are as equal human beings as others are. Because I'll start from there. Because when we say normal or disabled, that notion is a part of problem. That means that barrier is there, that is there in brain. We need to talk about that barrier, because infrastructural barriers, those are visible. We can speak about those barriers. People can sense those barriers, but we need to address those barriers. Those are attitudinal, especially attitude, because we need to change the attitude of people. That is the main thing. And attitudes can be changed through different measures. And first of all, and initially in the beginning of the program, I'll quote the wording of one of your participants: empathy. Empathy is a really good notion, but I'll say compassion. We need to promote the compassion in our society. If people are compassionate, then they can realize the rights of other people. Because
sorry that I'm interjecting or intercepting as well, but now there's a very important point which actually came across my mind just now, and I have been a witness to that as well, that God forbid if you know, there are parents out there and it's a newborn baby and they've already realized, and the doctors have told them that God forbid your child has a disability. We have seen that parents just stigmatize it straight away. Yes. They even do not share it with their extended family members. In fact, they do not even share it with brothers and sisters that their kid might have a problem. How do you think that we're going to get rid of this stigma? Because, you know, the very moment the parents are going to take a step back and are going to be defensive about their own kid, I know that it's out of love and that they want the world to be complete for their kid, even if it's a girl or a boy. But how do we stop parents from stigmatizing it? I mean, it's अल्लाह की देन है, तो उसको इसी तरह एक्सेप्ट क्यों नहीं करते हैं?
There is two things we need to understand. Parents perceive specific stereotypical gender roles, and they feel their girl or boy, also a baby child or whatever child's gender is, that kid will perform those roles. When a child is born with any disability, their expectation get hurted. They experience shock. We need to understand three things. First, we need to understand, we need to change those gender roles first. Second, there is strong need to train those birth attendants, doctors, paramedical staff, how they are communicating with the parents. Most important thing is, especially we need to promote the rules. Persons they are doing something, they are achiever. If we promote those things, we can achieve this goal, because the parent ultimately think how
We're very
society
sorry, but we're very short on time. We just wanted, what you felt like today as well, and how important the day was for you and for the rest of the people around you as well, and for us as well. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for being with us. It was lovely to be in conversation. We're very short on time, so thank you very much.
Mr. Zulkarnain is a visionary, definitely, and always comes with brilliant ideas, right? And of course, a great insight as well. But ladies and gentlemen, right now we are headed to a short break. Here's the thing, when we come back, we're going to talk about a development that Pakistan made. It's brilliant. The Supreme Court ruled that 2% of the workforce in any establishment is supposed to be persons living with disabilities. It is a great achievement, but is it being realized is what we will ask our participants over here. So stay tuned to find out. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sitar is a plucked string instrument used in Pakistani classical music. The instrument flourished under the Mughal Empire. Sitar is named after the Persian word setar, meaning 3 strings. It derives its distinctive timbre and resonance from sympathetic strings. Bridge design, a long hollow neck, and a gourd-shaped resonance chamber. There are many popular modern styles of sitar, offered in a variety of sub-styles and decorative patterns.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for everybody who just got tuned into PTV World. You watching World This Morning alongside Shahzad Khan and Shiza Hashmi. Today, ladies and gentlemen, it's a very important day for the entire world. Yes. Because today we're talking about inclusivity for people who are living with disability. And ladies and gentlemen, imagine for one day, or probably, I think I went through it. during the COVID times as well, I had to be all by myself for 21 days. And it wasn't really a good feeling. Imagine people living their lives for 30 years, 40 years, 60 years, where they actually have to be in isolation just because of the fact that we have stigmatized the very concept of being born with a disability. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time that we change our mindsets, and it's about time that we get rid of the stigma.
Absolutely. We do have an informative report for you guys. It's a short one. Let's take a look at it first, and then we'll come back to continue our conversation with a guest over here. Let's do it.
National Day of Persons with Disabilities is observed on 3rd December every year. It aims to increase public awareness, understanding and acceptance of the people with disabilities and celebrate their achievements and contributions. On this day, WHO joined partners to celebrate a day for all. This theme reflects a growing understanding that disability is part of human condition. Despite this, few countries have adequate mechanism in place to respond fully to the need of people with disabilities. Disability inclusion is an essential condition to upholding human rights, sustainable development, peace and security. The commitment to realizing the right of persons with disability is not only a matter of justice, it is an investment in a common future. WHO estimates that more than 1 billion people, about 15% of the world's population, experience some form of disabilities. This figure is predicted to rise given population aging and an increase in the prevalence of non-communicable diseases. The global crisis of COVID-19 is deepening pre-existing inequalities, exposing the extent of exclusion, and highlight that work on disability inclusion is imperative. People with disabilities are one of the most excluded groups in our society and are among the hardest hit in the crisis in terms of fatalities.
Well, thank you, Sadia, for informing us. This was a brilliant report. But now coming back to our guest, Ms. Sobia, to begin with. Again, I have to say, it's needless to say, of course, but never enough said. You're doing a brilliant job for the community as well. Now, there are two things that you are doing, adding, in fact, to your list as well, and they're brilliant, they are new. So why don't you explain to us? You are making the first ever school for persons with bedridden disabilities. Amazing. Let us know about that. And what is conductive education that you're incorporating?
Okay, thank you. I can say during the COVID situation, I was able to, I was working on home reach plans. So I am working on this from last 26 years, but the most neglected special persons are the persons who are on beds.
Okay.
Even the, sorry to say, mothers are so disheartened that they are praying to get rid of the soul. But if they are here, so Allah Pak have reason for them.
True,
so
absolutely.
if we are the person who can who can help them, we should not step back. Absolutely. It is a difficult task. Nobody's agreed to work for, but I have been dragging the next year, inshallah, in 2022,
yes,
I will be launching a school for bedridden children with LED on the bed, a shadow teacher, and a therapist. Because yes, if they cannot go to the world, why should we get to unite to bring the world to them?
Technology is for everyone.
Yes,
why not make use of it?
We have a lot of therapists now. We have shadow teachers, so we should bring the world to them.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
So
brilliant.
That will be first time in Pakistan.
And we'd love to come visit as well,
sure,
inshallah,
sure.
whenever it's done.
The name is Step and Cure.
Okay.
And inshallah, I will invite you all.
And we will be there.
And conductive education.
Yes.
We would love to actually spend a day with them.
Yeah,
sure.
So it will be
Why
wonderful,
not?
and congratulations.
Thank you so much. And for conductive education is also the new thing for Pakistan. That is hands-on education with specific furniture. That is specifically for CP child, because on the very early age, if we apply the conductive education, with the passage of time, the child can stand and walk. Exactly. It's a neurophysio education, not therapies. Okay. It's an educational matter to raise up the special
how to get up and how to do things
from bed to step.
Wow.
Amazing,
from bed to
amazing.
step, ladies and gentlemen, the concept is wonderful as well, but there's one more concern, and that is that, me myself, when I was going to school and I was going to college, it was very hard for me to understand what the books actually stated, and nobody realized that, not even my teachers, not even my parents, and I had difficulty while studying. Eventually, I think I recovered from whatever it may probably be, and in university I was once again a very good student. I was a scholarship holder. But it came to me as a surprise that, hey, you know what, I can study as well. So, you know, there are similar things, for example, God forbid, autism, dyslexia, there are these things as well. And since we are incorporating the theme of that there are disabilities, a few of them which are invisible and people do not even know about them. What do you think needs to be done to raise awareness about all of these people where their disability is not visible and anybody around them won't even know?
Exactly. Okay, let me tell you that I am also a mother of 2 boys on the spectrum. My 2 boys are on autism spectrum disorder, and that's why I'm in this field of special education. So I know very well what does it mean to be socially isolated. Right. And the stigma you were talking about earlier, actually I have heard that gunahon ki saza, you know. So these kind of statements, yes, still mothers, facing this is gunahon ki saza, you know. So first of all, we need to change this mindset. We need to raise awareness. This is not gunahon ki saza. This is something, you know, Allah has blessed us. We are the chosen one. I think I am the chosen one.
Yes, indeed.
So we are the chosen people and we are blessed with such kids. And when it comes to inclusion, we talk lots about inclusion, but what about awareing people how to accept them and how to love them? My child was in this school, lots of bullying is there, you know. They don't even know that they're being bullied, you know.
But
they
it
don't
leaves an
even know.
impression on the mind.
That's so disappointing that our kids don't know how to communicate with such kids. Like at the level of parents, we need to educate our kids, neurotypical kids, that those kids are also part of society. They are your friends. They need your help. So when my son was going into mainstream school and the teacher was so good, she told the whole class that he needs your help. You need to support them, and that was a lovely class. They actually need to protect him. Yeah, they protected him, and they were like, okay, he is something and we need to protect them, we need to support him, and they were protecting him. So we need to raise such kind of awareness among parents. First of all, we need to tell them this is not gunahon ki saza. And when you have them, you need to change mindset. We need to teach people how to love them, how to accept them. My social life was totally, like, I was devastated. I cannot go to wedding ceremonies. I cannot go to you know, public gatherings because people stare at you and ye pagal hai, you know, such kind of statements we have to
go through as well.
You're very strong, Sumaila, and you're doing an amazing job.
And these are very painful statements as well, and this is something which I spoke about it as well. But now, alhamdulillah, you know that you are the chosen one.
Yes, I am the chosen
and you have got that confidence as well. But just one small thing, and it is based on a scientific research as well, that, ladies and gentlemen, not in 100% cases, but in 50% cases, all of this can be avoided if it's not a cousin marriage. I think a lot of people have spoken about it as well, but we really need to put our heads into it as well, and we need to make sure that, you know, we really do not go about cousin marriages. I think we should probably, you know, find love wherever it is. I mean, I'm not against cousin marriages, but research says that, God forbid, if a child is autistic or dyslexic or these problems are there, it might be because of the fact that it was a cousin marriage. Not in all cases, but in a few of the cases.
There are definitely more chances, you're right. But now, Abia, let's talk about the rights again, very quickly though. The statement I made before going on the break, 2% of the workforce should be PWDs. Are we realizing that, number one? And then, among the community of the PWDs, gender-based violence, what do you have any stats on that?
Exactly. When we call, like, as we mentioned, disability rights are human rights. From that perspective, if we see women and girls with disabilities are still not getting that rights. They are not recognized, and many of the women, like we say, almost 4% of them are facing any kind of gender-based violence and harassment and sexual harassment at homes, and especially during the COVID situation, because women with disabilities are always at home, but many of the people have to stay back. So they are facing the gender-based violence, and we have gotten the information by conversations with 300 women with disability. We have conducted a research during the last month, and we find out like many of them were facing the harassment within their homes, and their mothers pray that our daughters die before we die, because nobody is going to take care of them. So in that situation, what we did, we started like virtual network of women with disabilities. So those women with disabilities conduct the psychosocial support to other women with disabilities, so they can understand what kind of challenges they are facing, but at the same time providing them the support and the safe space where they can envision their rights, they can talk about it. And about the quota and all the, like, we are talking about the inclusive approaches for that. So we are very blessed, like today we are going to organize under the leadership of Asad Kaisar Sahab, the Honorable Speaker, National Assembly, the event, and we are also celebrating Khadijatul Kubra Award.
Yes.
This is the third award,
year, right?
Yes, third year.
Amazing.
And we are giving these awards to those women with disabilities who have talked about their rights, who have contributed from the grassroots level to the national and the global. And then we also, like at the same time, the recently notification from the court on the data and legislation, so that also we recognized we have the right terminologies for persons with disabilities. So we are very proud of being persons with disability or women with disability.
And we are proud of you.
And we are actually proud of you. And not just that, ladies and gentlemen, STEP is actually an organization which is managed and administrated and run by people living with disabilities, which is wonderful. But one last thing, one last question, ladies and gentlemen, that too with an emerging leader who I think might be a recipient of Khadijatul Kubra Award. I don't know whether I have to say this today or not. But very quickly, जाते जाते ज़ाला मैं आपसे सिर्फ ये सवाल करना चाहता हूँ कि आप खुबैब फाउंडेशन की एम्बेसडर भी हैं. आप उन लोगों की आवाज़ हैं जिन लोगों की आवाज़ को कोई नहीं सुनता. आप एक ऐसे प्रिविलेज बैकग्राउंड से भी हैं कि आप जितना ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल अपनी रिसोर्सेज का करेंगी उतना ज़्यादा उन सबको फ़ायदा भी होगा. तो जाने से पहले मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ कि आपने आज तक जितने भी ये सब लोग हैं जिस कम्युनिटी की आप लीडर हैं अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, उनके लिए क्या क्या किया है और आगे क्या ख्वाब रखती हैं कि मैं ये करना चाहती हूँ?
जी, ये जो मुझे जो मेरा जो आगे फ्यूचर प्लानिंग है वो ये कि मैं स्पेशल पर्सन्स के लिए काम करूँ, उनको सोसाइटी में एक इज़्ज़त वाला मुकाम दूँ और ये कि सोसाइटी में ये अवेयरनेस पैदा हो कि ये लोग जो है तो वो मीन्स इज़्ज़त के काबिल है ये लोग भी. और दूसरे कि जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है बिटवीन द पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ एंड स्पेशल पर्सन डिस्क्रिमिनेट जो करते कि ये मीन्स बोल नहीं सकता तो ये स्पेशल पर्सन इज़ नॉट अ स्पेशल पर्सन, या अगर कोई चल नहीं सकता तो डिफरेंटली उस पर. और हमारे माशरे में ये बात बहुत ज़्यादा हद तक मुतासर होगी है. और जैसे कि उन्होंने कहा तो पेरेंट्स जो है इस बात को ज़्यादा वो करते हैं. मैं ख़ुद भी मेरा एक्सपीरियंस जो है अभी तक मुझे मीन्स जब मैं अवॉइड करती हूँ किसी फैमिली फंक्शंस पे जो ज़्यादा नज़दीक फैमिली फंक्शंस उनमें जल्दी जाती हूँ, लेकिन ऑल्दो मैं अवॉइड करती हूँ क्योंकि बिकॉज आप वो रिएक्शंस और एक्शंस लोगों के फील करते दे ट्राई टू बी सिंपैथाइज एंड एम्पैथेटिक. दे पता नहीं जानबूझ के करते हैं या
बट ऑल यू वांट इज कि वो आपको नॉर्मल ट्रीट करें, राइट?
मेरा जो एम है मैं ये मुझे कोई शौक़ नहीं है कि मुझे कोई कि अब मुझे ये मेरे लिए एक एजाज़ है कि मुझे खुबैब फाउंडेशन ने इस काबिल समझा कि उन्होंने मुझे अपना एम्बेसडर लिया है. मैं उनकी मशकूर हूँ बहुत. और मेरा एम जो है वो ये है कि इनको इज़्ज़त वाला मकाम मिले इस सोसाइटी में. इनको थोड़ा सा वो इनकी मीन्स इनको थोड़ा सा इज़्ज़त मकाम मिले. और दूसरा ये कि उन सोसाइटी में ये डिस्क्रिमिनेशन ख़त्म. मैं इस बात पे दूसरा मुझे इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन पे मैं काम करना चाहती हूँ. मैं ख़ुद भी वो स्टूडेंट हूँ जो कि नॉर्मल स्कूल्स में मैंने स्कूल भी नॉर्मल पढ़ा है, मैं कॉलेज भी नॉर्मल, मैंने अब यूनिवर्सिटी में मैं हूँ वो भी नॉर्मल. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा रिस्पेक्ट देते टीचर्स भी थ्रू आउट और स्टूडेंट्स भी. और ये नॉर्मल बिहेवियर्स होते हैं. कभी कभी कोई इस तरह पूछ लेते हैं मैं आंसर कर लेती हूँ क्योंकि इससे तो कोई इशू नहीं है. लेकिन ज़्यादा मैं अब जो मेरा टारगेट है फ्यूचर टारगेट वो इंक्लूसिव एजुकेशन पे काम करना और इम्पोर्टेंट जो बेसिक राइट्स है पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन में है तो इनके लिए काम करना.
और कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में हुकूक लिखवाने हैं आपने.
लिटरली वी लुकिंग एट यू फॉर दैट.
सॉरी आपकी बात करती हूँ. दूसरा अब जो मैंने बाबा से बात की है तो क्योंकि अगर राइट टू वोट है पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ के लिए समहाउ तो उनके लिए राइट टू इलेक्शन होना चाहिए. ऑन स्पेशल सीट मैंने उनको कहा है कि 2% एटलीस्ट 2% सीट्स होने चाहिए नेशनल असेंबली में और ऑल असेंबलीज़ में, ताकि इससे ये होगा कि जो निचला तबका है और जो अनएजुकेटेड फैमिलीज़ है जिनकी पर्सन लिविंग विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ है और इस तरह के और फैमिलीज़ में तो इससे होगा कि अगर पर्सन विद डिसेबिलिटी अगर असेंबली में उनकी रिप्रेजेंटेशन होगी तो वो उनके आवाज़ को आगे लेके जाएंगे, उनको ऑन करेंगे तो इससे ज़्यादा अचीवमेंट होगी।
एंड व्हेन पेरेंट्स रियलाइज कि अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं बच्चों के लिए, पर्सन्स लिविंग विद डिसेबिलिटीज़ के लिए, वो उनको ज़्यादा इन्वेस्ट करेंगे अपनी एनर्जी, अपना टाइम एंड एवरीथिंग और अपने रिसोर्सेज। बट आई थिंक ज़ला आपने बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स बनाए हैं एंड ऑल द बेस्ट ऑफ लक फॉर योर फ्यूचर एंडेवर्स। वी रियली होप दैट जो भी आपके प्लान्स हैं इंशाल्लाह वो जल्द पूरे हों। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर बीइंग हियर, यू अमेजिंग लेडीज, ईच वन ऑफ यू actually is really inspirational for us as well. Yes,
yeah,
go on.
And towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing I would love to say over here is that I think, obviously it was a team effort and thanks to all our guests as well. But so far, I think that this is one of the best shows we have done, ladies and gentlemen. But it's only going to be best near us or close to us if all of those people who are out there are going to learn or take away something from this as well.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's about time. Let's destigmatize. Let's make sure that we are going to spread smiles amongst everyone, each and everyone, and we're not going to leave anyone behind. Building back better.
Absolutely. And Shahzad, you know, very quickly though, where we talked about families making sure that persons living with disabilities are treated equally. Even if families do that, even if families create a safe environment, when the person goes out, the society actually sidelines them or, you know, stigmatizes them. So it is your duty as a person of the, you know, citizen of Pakistan actually, to educate people around you. Even if you don't have a PWD within your family, you still have to educate everyone around you to make sure how to treat them with normalcy, without any discrimination is what we're looking at. And if you have any similar stories to share with anything inspirational, let us know, because we love to read from you on our social media pages, Facebook, Twitter and YouTube, with the name of
Well This Morning. Until the next time, ladies and gentlemen, just look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Stay safe.
Thank you.